Ladies, gentlemen, and internet trolls too, welcome back to Fan Fridays, a show where I give outsiders an inside look at the mind of an MLB All-Star. Have you ever wondered what the most interesting perk or clause written in a player's contract is that I've heard of? I'll answer that question and many more right after the break. Let's get to it. Question number one for the day comes from YouTube. Question is, has being a player in MLB changed your perspective of Major League Baseball from when you were young and growing up as a fan? If so, in what way? And yes, it did. When I was a fan, I looked out on the field and I was like, if I could just ever be one of those guys, I don't even know what life would be like. Those guys are superstars. It was like a whole different class of human. It was like an alien almost. Like, there was everybody else, and then there was Major League Baseball players in a completely separate category. And now that I'm a Major League Baseball player, we're just people, you know. We live and breathe just like everybody. We have problems and quirks and hobbies and family and interests and all that stuff just like everybody. We wear the same types of shoes, wear the same types of clothes. Some of us are a little bit more extravagant in the accessories that we have or the clothes that we have, but we all wake up in the morning and put on socks and shoes and head to work just like everybody else. So it was a little bit of a letdown, I guess, in a way, but it was also really cool to be accepted into the group and to finally have achieved something that I've been chasing for so long. So I guess it was more just realizing that they weren't, Major League Baseball players weren't aliens, they were humans. And then that made it a lot easier to, I guess, see myself as one. Question number 2, do you study film before a game? If so, what specifically are you looking for to give yourself an edge out on the mound? I don't study a whole lot of film, honestly. I'll look at film of my mechanics after each start to know what to work on in between starts. But that's really all I look at. I don't watch film of hitters too much. If there's a new hitter that has no stats on him, I look at spray charts and heat maps and stuff like that. So everything is kind of data driven for me. So I look at, okay, this is the area where I should throw this pitch and these counts, and against this hitter I should throw here, and like all that different stuff. I don't need to see video necessarily to pick up on what I really want to do. But if there's a new guy that comes up and there is no data, I've taught myself enough about hitting that I can look at his swing or look at video of it and realize kind of, okay, he's going to struggle here, he's going to be good here, this is what he's trying to do, whatever. But it takes me a lot longer to look at video of one guy and figure out what he's good at and what he's trying to do and how to approach him than it does to just look at the numbers and be like, okay, last 100 at bats, pitchers that are similar to me with my pitch types, this is where they're most effective. Great, put him in category 1 or put him in category 2. Or whatever category I place them in. I have categories for hitters, so I kind of classify everybody into usually like 3 main categories. And so I have default strategies that I go for and pitch mixes and stuff like that I use for each category of hitter. So that's kind of how my pregame process goes. And usually after facing a guy 2 or 3 times, I have a very good sense of if he actually is in that category or if I need to adjust or make some changes. So not a whole lot of video work for me on the hitters, just a little bit on my mechanics to make sure I'm not getting too far out of whack. Question number 3, when pitchers have different arm slots, is that purely based off comfort? Now, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking here, but I'm assuming that it's if a pitcher is throwing from different arm slots himself, not if one pitcher has a high arm slot and one pitcher has a low arm slot. But I guess I'll answer both of them. If you're throwing from multiple different arm slots, then yeah, it's a comfort thing. It's, I feel like I can throw this pitch up here and this pitch down there, and I can make the ball move this way, and I know I got to be able to command it, and maybe I feel more athletic doing it from these different arm angles or whatever the case is. Sometimes pitchers think they're throwing from different arm angles and they'll like drop down, but their hand will go from like here to there, and it's really not a different arm angle, but it feels tremendously different. So guys that throw from literally all sorts of arm angles, like El Duque is, I guess, the one that always comes to mind for everybody. That takes a tremendous amount of skill and feel to change your body positions and your hand position and the shape of the pitches. that drastically and still be able to command all of them. So definitely a comfort thing for those guys. For pitchers like pitcher 1 and pitcher 2, if one guy's throwing from a higher arm slot and the next guy's throwing from a lower arm slot, think of maybe someone like Clayton Kershaw who's throwing dead over the top versus a Chris Sale who's throwing almost dead from the side. That's mostly based on how their body works and how they've developed their delivery over a lot of years. It's not necessarily comfort at that point. It's that they've just developed that way, and that's how they throw. So hopefully that answers your question. Now's the time that we jump over to some questions from my fans at trevorbauer.com. Question number 4 comes from George DeMoss, who asks, when you're pitching in a game situation, let's say where it would be advantage for the offense if the ball were hit to the right side to advance a runner to third, do you pitch against that outcome or pitch to the metrics of the particular batter's hitting zone? I pitch to the hitter, and how is best for me to get the hitter out most efficiently? If they're going to give up an out by hitting the ball the other way and put a guy on third, I'll take that outcome because I'm very confident in my ability to wiggle out of jams, to strike a guy out when I need to. If it's just a guy on third and I have a couple open bases, I can manipulate my way through the lineup, find a better matchup for myself or whatever the case is. I pitch away from damage a lot. I try to pitch away from homers and doubles, triples, although those don't really happen too often. But I try to pitch away from damage, make people get 3 hits off me to score a run. I don't do very well at it. I give up a lot of homers, but that's what I'm trying to do anyway. So yeah, I pitch to the hitter's weak zone. I find the best possible matchup for me against the hitter in that situation, that count, that game situation, that inning, and I attack it. Question number 5 comes from Russell Spieler. Sorry, Russell, if I'm mispronouncing it. Anyway, Russell asks, have you ever thought about the professional and personal legacies you want to leave? If you have, can you tell us about what the legacy you want to leave is and how it is factored into everything from your work ethic, professional baseball goals, and even professional business goals? I have thought a lot about this. I've spent a lot of time writing this out and creating a roadmap for myself. I have 5-year goals. I take 5-year chunks at a time. So I have a roadmap from now to the end of 2024 on exactly what I want to accomplish professionally, both baseball-wise and business-wise, what I want to accomplish personally, what I want to accomplish financially. Those are the 3 main categories that I separated everything into. Mainly, I want to be known as someone who was extremely passionate and hardworking, devoted himself to something to achieve greatness, pushed himself to the limit, and was able to succeed at a high level. That's what I want for myself on the professional side, both in baseball and in business. I want to be known as someone who helps people. I want to give back. That's one of the reasons I make all this content, because I want to give back to the next generation of kids that are playing, the next generation of big leaguers, give them free info. I want to connect with fans and make their lives better by having some sort of inside information into someone they may watch on TV or maybe a fan of or may look up to. I try to give away as much information as possible to help other baseball players, to help just people in general. I do a lot of work with charity on things that I'm passionate about, which is school, being a nerd and being an athlete. It's difficult when you're both because you don't really fit into either category. You get made fun of a lot. You'd think that you would fit into both categories, but that's not really how it works coming up. At least it wasn't for me. So I do a lot with after-school activities and promoting science and education and stuff like that while also doing stuff with athletics. So that's one legacy that I want to leave. In baseball specifically, I want to know that at the end of my career, I left the game in a much better place. I had a marked impact on the way baseball training is done, health and sustainability for athletes, the market so that the future generation of baseball players have it better than I have it right now. All that stuff. I want to make a lasting impact. I want people to understand all the information that I have and all the time that I've spent amassing that knowledge can be helpful. I don't want them to fear it. I want to embrace technology and science and studying the human body and the capabilities of it and all that. So that's some word vomit probably, but those are some of the things that I really want to accomplish. I want to be known as someone who helps people, who gives back, and who is driven and is able to accomplish at a very high level and succeed at a very high level despite not being the most gifted athletically or intellectually or whatever the case is. Hard work, dedication, commitment, those things pay off. That's kind of the legacy that I want to leave. Question number 6 comes from John Montuza, who asks, why during interleague play does MLB not adopt NL rules in AL stadiums and vice versa? Well, they kind of do. You play by AL rules in AL stadiums and NL rules in NL stadiums. So I'm not sure exactly what's being asked here, but I do know that in spring training, when an NL team plays an AL team in an NL park, they still play by AL rules where they have a DH. The only time you see pitchers hitting in spring training is when an NL team plays an NL team, so they're in an NL stadium. And the reason for that is because AL teams don't want to have their pitchers hitting in spring training when they're not going to be hitting during the season, risk of injury and getting hit with a pitch, stuff like that. And so then it just creates an unbalanced lineup. So we play with a DH in spring training. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And last but not least, question number 7. Robert Christ says, what is an odd or interesting term or perk in a contract that you know of? So all contracts up until free agency are stock contracts. You can't really write anything in there. And then they're called uniform player contracts, a UPC. And all free agent contracts are somewhat stock as well, but you can write in addendums to them. You can write in like a personal note that it's not contractually binding necessarily because it's not part of the actual contract, but it's a promise basically from the people that it's a promise between the two people that are signing the contract, the club and the player, that they're going to abide by these rules. So they're not technically written in language in contracts, but some perks that I've heard of. A very common one is having a suite on the road. So when you check into a hotel, you don't just get a normal hotel room, you get a suite, which might be 2 rooms. You have a living room, you have a couch, you got a separate bedroom, maybe you have a place, a little kitchen or something like that. Another really interesting one that I heard of is private jet miles, a certain number of private jet miles throughout the year to be used on whatever it is that one uses a private jet mile for. Those are some of the most interesting ones. I'm probably missing some other ones. I've heard some pretty crazy rumors, but those are the 2 that kind of stick out. One that's kind of common that a lot of people have, and one that is not very common at all, at least in my understanding. But yeah, you can ask for pretty much anything. You can use anything as a bargaining chip. So I plan to get kind of creative with that in free agency coming up. So I'll have to think of some good options. Thanks for reminding me of that. And that looks like it's it for today. So I've answered some of your questions, and I have a couple questions for you today. Baseball is finally back. I'm about to pack this all up, pack up my whole house, head to Cincinnati to start the season, start spring training. Or I heard it's called summer camp. I think summer camp is better than spring training 2.0. So we're calling it summer camp, about ready to pack up and head there. But baseball is finally back. So my questions to you are, 1, what are you most excited for this year? It could be just having baseball back and being able to watch. It could be seeing what changes about how teams structure the strategy of only playing 60 games versus playing 162. It could be playoffs. Let me know what you're most excited about baseball being back, and who's your prediction to win the World Series? If you don't say the Reds, that's completely fine. Just know that I won't do anything about it. Leave whatever comment you want. Just interested to hear who you think is going to win the World Series in a 60-game season. And that's it. So if you would like a chance to be shouted out in a future video, head on over to trevorbauer.com, sign up for my email list on the homepage, and submit your question there. I will get to it at some point. And that's it. I got to pack up. So leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and share this video and this channel with anyone that you can, anyone that might be interested in seeing it. It would help me, help a lot more people, and that's something I'm passionate about. I got to pack and head to Cincinnati. I'll see you guys in the next one.